Hello guys and welcome to my channel. I'm a new slime anime YouTuber. If you like this content, please consider subscribing and clicking that bell notification icon so I can continue uploading this kind of content. This video is the part 5 of chapter 1 of volume 19 of Light Novel. So without further ado, let's get started. Vega took a direct hit from this, but surprisingly, he survived. Although he was not able to use the evil Dragon King Azitahaka properly, he was still subconsciously affected by the skill in his body. Moreover, Vega could be characterized by his stubbornness. Although he was not left unharmed, he was able to regenerate his own body in time before being killed by activating organic domination and mass reproduction. His magical count was not to be underestimated. Vega took a deep breath and bellowed with all his might.
Shit.
Then he glared at Ranga. Vega took a deep breath to calm himself down, and then spat out.
Damn it. It's been a long series of continuous battles, and it looks like I'm tired too. I'll call it a draw for today, so prepare yourself for the next time we meet. See ya.
Vega's cowardice was the only reason why he was so good at sensing danger. Realizing that the situation had become disadvantageous for him, he immediately decided to run away. Ranga had no objections. From the fact that he had withstood his own strongest move, he could see that Vega was superior to him in terms of existence value. He understood that he could not defeat Vega unless he was able to finish him off with that current blow. In that case, there was no need to push himself. His tactical goal was to buy time, so if he could force Vega to retreat, then that would be considered a success. Therefore, Ranga's decision to not engage Vega was the correct choice. Thus, the battle against Vega, the fiercest of the battlefields, came to an end. Now then, everyone was pleased by Ranga's support. However, Minsara thought to herself, this Ranga fellow is the pet of the demon Lord Rimuru-sama, isn't he? So then why is he so strong? That strength was just illogical. Minsara had a rough idea of how large or small Vega and Ranga's energy values were. This was because a good fighter could not survive if they were unable to measure the strength of their enemy. In Minsara's perspective, Ranga was a serious contender, but Vega still seemed to be a more formidable opponent. And yet, Ranga had been the overwhelming victor. She had planned to use Ranga as a shield and reconfigure her tactics, but now she felt like she had been let down.
You know, Minsara, there are some extraordinary beings in this world. Once you take a good look at Rimuru-sama, you will understand how I feel right now.
Minsara remembered the words of her boss Rain. I see now, just by watching his pet, one can understand the caliber of the owner. I did not doubt Rain-sama's words, but now I understand them wholeheartedly. Minsara couldn't help muttering, and the 4 remaining demon peers nodded their heads in total agreement. And White Knight Metal, who had almost run out of mana, was left dumbfounded that he had no part to play. It was as if they had escaped reality. I like dogs, and I've always wanted to have one. They're just so dependable. After this battle, I'll have to rush to the pet store to buy one. It was a complete abandonment of thought. By the way, pet stores in this world did not sell pet dogs. They sold animals and monsters that were trained by a tamer and could really fight, at a high price. Later on, Meadle would buy a forest wolf and give it the name Ranga Roman too, but that was another story. Red Knight Fran and Yellow Knight Kizona were struggling against Oria. The word struggling was an understatement. If Oria had seriously intended to kill them, the battle would have instantly been decided.
She's just too strong.
Fran muttered, biting her lip. Kizona, who was exposed to Oria's attack, agreed.
She's just toying with us. Now it's a mace. It was a short sword earlier, but she's making the weapons weaker and weaker, testing their performance on us.
Kizona's point was correct. At first, Oria was holding a morning star. With one blow, Kizona's full body armor had been shattered. The next blow would have killed her, but Oria's next move was to switch weapons. Kizona felt as if she was being taken for a fool, but it was also true that she felt lucky.
It's disgraceful to be ridiculed like this, but I guess it can't be helped since there's such a large difference between our abilities.
Let's think positively. If we keep stalling for time, I am sure that Leon-sama will come to help.
That such hope was an illusion. Their master, Demon Lord Leon, must be in an even more treacherous situation. Otherwise, Leon would not have abandoned his subordinates. So, all they could do was try to stay alive until help arrived. But that was long overdue. The disparity in their abilities was too great. Not even 10 minutes had passed since the battle had started, and they were already wounded to the bone. And Oria was also satisfied after testing her abilities to some extent.
Yeah, is that enough?
Oria spoke and transformed her weapon into the trident. It was the main weapon of a woman who had once been named Orca. Fran and Kizona also understood that Oria's presence had changed. So this is it. I did my best, but I regret that I couldn't complete my mission. Fran was despairing. Kizona was more materialistic. I wish I could have eaten some cake in the end. They waited for everything to end while thinking to themselves. However, the end never came. Instead, what came was,
You seem to be in some trouble. I thought it would be tactless of me to intervene, but I will leave that matter to you.
Kumara, who had transformed herself into a beautiful woman, stood before Oria, as if to protect Fran and Kizona. Thus, the battle between Kumara and Oria began, and once again, it was a one-sided affair. But this time, it was Oria who was completely outmatched.
There's no way, why?
A startled cry escaped Oria's mouth. Oria's ultimate enchantment, multiple weapons, was the power to create mythical-grade weapons of any performance. The full body armor she wore was also mythical-grade, as it should be. And yet, the 9-tailed punches that Kumara was unleashing by manipulating her tails were damaging Oria without any regard to her mythical-grade armor. It did not shatter the armor, but the impact still penetrated and reduced Oria's physical strength.
You're pretty weak, aren't you? If that's the case, I don't need to send out the 8 legions.
Kumara had wondered if she should send out a tailed beast to gauge the enemy's strength, but after one battle, she had decided that there was no need. Oria was a top-notch warrior and a formidable opponent who could even control advanced magic. However, her movements did not deviate from the realm of human beings, and she did not stray from Kumara's expectations in any way. For Kumara, who had experience with strong opponents such as Karian and Frey, this opponent was unsatisfactory. It was Oria's armament that should be of concern, but that too was not a threat to Kumara, because Kumara had evolved even further. From a 9-tails to a fox gen, Kumara's power had increased greatly once she took on divinity. Of course, Oria had a seraph in her, so she also had divinity. Moreover, when comparing the existence values between them, there was not much of a difference. Kumara had grown a little, but still had an existence value of less than 2 million, while Oria had an existence value of a little more than 2 million. By numerical values alone, Oria had the advantage. And yet Oria, with only her experience as a human, had too narrow of a range of uses for her power. When they were humans, Oria, Borka, and Aria had been the most senior executive members of the mixed corps under Yuki. They had been as strong as the Imperial Knights, the most powerful group in the Empire. The souls of these two women mingled and awakened as undead elves, and even gained the power of the Seraphim. On top of that, the ultimate enchantment alternative, given to them by Michael, had been transformed into multiple weapons. She was convinced that there were no enemies worth noting on Earth. After experimenting with Fran and Kizona to confirm this, Oria was convinced that her power was the strongest. The weapons created by her skill were second to none for any existing mythical-grade equipment. As proof of this, Fran's and Kizona's attacks had not worked on Oria at all. They couldn't even touch her body, and the two had been repelled by her mythical-grade armor. Her weapon could shatter the enemy's weapon with only a light swing. Oria had become overconfident in her own power. That was why she refused to acknowledge the current reality.
Do not take me for a fool. I'll be getting serious from here on.